All right, good morning. I say good morning because it is currently 6:52 in the morning my time. If you're watching this at another time of day, just pretend that I greeted you appropriately by that time of day. Today, what we're going to be doing is giving you a basic introduction into variables in PowerShell, getting user input, storing that input as a text file, and then using that input we've stored from the text file in another script. So to get started, you have to understand variables in PowerShell. They are denoted by the dollar sign. So we can say favorite fruit is equal to, and then a value. We'll say for this example, apples. Not actually my favorite fruit, but got to keep them guessing. And then we'll go ahead and write that favorite fruit to the console via the write host commandlet. And this is basically your hello world. In fact, we'll go ahead and give you this example. So now that you've written hello world to the console, you can go ahead and list PowerShell proficiency to your resume. But for the sake of this example, we'll output the contents of the favorite fruit variable, which as we can see is apples. Now, this isn't very useful because we want to ask the user what their favorite fruit is. Let's say I'm having a get together, I'm going to have fruit there, and I want to know what's the favorite fruit of 1,000 people. So to do that, we have to get the user input, and that's going to be through the read host commandlet. We'll specify that the question we're asking is what is your favorite fruit, which is always good to do because the user doesn't know if we're asking for their name, date of birth, mother's maiden name, or social security number. In this example, it's favorite fruit. But we have to tell PowerShell where to store this input, otherwise it's worthless. So we'll tell it favorite fruit is equal to the output of read host. What is your favorite fruit? And as always, we'll just write host at the end of it, favorite fruit, so we can check our work and make sure it's actually storing properly. We'll clear the terminal. You can either use clear, which is the PowerShell way of doing it, or CLS, which is the batch way of doing it. We'll run the script and tell it apples. You can see there it read the input, remembered it, and was able to write to the host that my favorite fruit is apples. That's just stuck in a variable. So what if we want to store it, say, in a text file? What we'll do is we'll say favorite fruit variable, out file, which is output file, we'll store it in documents slash favorite fruit.txt. Now this part's important. We want to make sure we tell it to append, otherwise it will write over that data. And let's say we've gathered 999 out of 1,000 user inputs. I just sent the script out to 1,000 people, but we forgot append. What we're going to get back is the last person who ran its favorite fruit and none of the others. So append is very useful. So now we'll tell it apples. And we'll go ahead and run it a few more times. Tell it grapes. Tell it, I don't know, peaches. Tell it strawberry. All right, so now we've got a few different inputs that we've given to it. It is all stored in this text file. So how do we access that information? Well, we're again going to use the favorite fruit variable because why not? It's just there. And we'll use the get content commandlet and tell it the file path. And so now it's going to get the content of that text document we were sending the data to and store it in the favorite fruit variable. Now we can just write host favorite fruit and it'll tell us the content of the text file. So you can see here it stored it apples, grapes, peaches, and strawberry. Now we've got that data and we can work with it if we want. Realistically, this is a data set you could easily do by hand, but for the sake of complicating things, again, my example, we have 1,000 different favorite fruits and we want to do some calculations with them. It'd be easy in PowerShell and a lot quicker than doing it by hand. But that's your basic introduction to variables, getting user input, outputting stuff to the console, storing it in a text file, and then later retrieving the data that we stored in that text file for usage. This has been a very basic example, but it's mainly meant to get your feet wet. You should start seeing what you can do with user input and storing data, what use cases you can come up with, and try and make it work in the real world, in your day-to-day job, or simply come up with examples like a massive fruit party. That's going to be it for this quick little tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you've got any requests for video topics or specific examples you'd like to see me go through, please leave them in the comment section and make sure you subscribe to the channel because we're going to be getting more advanced as time goes on. I did this as more of an introduction to PowerShell for people who may be on the fence with it to show them, hey, it's pretty easy and you can probably do it. But we'll be getting way more advanced. I've got about 8 years of PowerShell under my belt, so we're going to see what we can teach y'all in addition to other IT related topics. But anyways, see you guys in the comment section.